will be addressing your lordship so far as Maharashtra Melody.
Otherwise, we are wasting time on periphery.
Lord, I believe that since the questions have been framed in Jallikattu matter, I believe that Jallikattu matter should initially be thereafter Maharashtra.
Lord, if I may do all the introductions, we never get to.
Lord, if I may be permitted to start.
Yes, but I'll start. Yes,
let's start.
My friend, not I fights for IA number 11 or 216. I want Jallikattu pair was not who are organizing this function. That IA may bear out, I'm supporting the government.
I hear you because it's a question of law basically. I mean, unless there is a mixed question of fact or something like what really happened.
I'm not going to the facts.
Very little. Disputed questions will find.
That's right.
Facts are only for the purpose of crystallizing the issue so that your doctrines can consist.
That's right.
Otherwise, these are pure questions.
We will hear all. I mean, those who are here before us, if something.
Any facts that are necessary,
like
are not
wants to make his submission.
The doctrines will be applied here.
Only thing is that supposing some argument is raised by somebody,
yes,
the court has understood it.
Yes.
Then nobody needs to repeat it.
No, it won't be repeated. From the side of the petition,
be done. Otherwise,
of course.
The whole idea of the constitutional bench is defeated.
Lord, we have done certain housekeeping, Lord, for ourselves. And therefore, Lord, Mr. Luthra will
actually exactly what Mr. Hrishikesh Roy is concerned about, that we should organize it in such a way.
No, we are doing
that. You will responsibly allocate the sort of work.
We have done it, Lord. We have done it our
Is it possible to kind of enumerate subject-wise? The arguments will be advancing, but then it can be divided.
Lord, once Mr. Luthra gives the introduction,
yes,
thereafter, Lord, he sets out the points. We ourselves,
because we have the reference 5 points.
Yes.
But on what would be the foundation of your argument?
Yes.
It can be enumerated.
But I notice it enough, Lord, if we give it at this time of commencement of the submission.
Yes.
So that, Lord, we'll stay within the 4 corners of what we are.
And also you can divide among yourselves.
We have.
Which points?
So that we have already made it.
Yes,
clear, so please start.
Yes, I'm not
Lordship,
your
additional issue I made that when Lordship will consider that.
Which one?
The application which I made for framing of additional issue.
That's
because once arguments are started,
you are appearing for the petitioner or for the
petitioner farmer for protection of farmers' rights under 21 and 19(1)(g).
That's a matter which has been referred to.
It referred, that is item number 502.13.
When you argue your case will, somebody will be the respondent.
Yes.
So when we hear, we will decide as to whether it's a matter we will do it. Whether it's completely beyond the scope of the reference, we'll decide it. So let us not get stuck here, please.
Lord, if I may just begin. Yes, of course, I will. Lord, what has happened in this case, as your Lordship recalls, there is an order of 2nd of August.
So you are appearing in compassion.
Lord, I am appearing, Lord, yes, Lord, I am appearing in 3 of these matters. That's the compilation is over. As I said, please take it. I am appearing in writ petition civil 24 of 2016, then 1059 of 2017 and 1059 of 2017 and 1152 of 2018.
1052.
Yes, ma'am. Number.
What are the prayers?
Number. I'll just tell you.
What are the prayers in that?
But please take it. That in these 3 cases, I'll just tell you, Lordship, don't bother opening the file. In all these cases, Lord, there is a challenge to the Amendment Act by each state and the rules. So the challenge is there, the Amendment Act is there. I've called it out in the chart. The Amending Act will make it. Now, there are 5 questions framed, plus 3 additional questions which Maharashtra has framed. For your Lordship's convenience, I put them in a structure, which I'll just tender. And the proposal is to deal with it as thus. So, I'm sorry. Yes.
That's the most important.
That's the act of the day, Lord.
Why you are here?
It's been part of volume 1 of the compilation, my lord.
But we'd like to have it,
Yes, of course.
On the rules.
Now, but as I was saying, so there were three statutes, amending statutes by the states, and three sets of rules. But unfortunately, I must point out that the Maharashtra statute could not be placed on the compilation. I'm carrying it. We'll tender it out in a moment. Now, please come to that structure of submissions. If my lord just has this one pager I've given you.
Yeah.
So, but the structure of submissions on, there were 5 queries raised by the earlier bench. One page, the bench. One pager. But
Yeah.
one pager I've handed.
You have not
5
got-
copies. I've given 5 copies.
One page.
Just give that one page.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I thought I'll give copies to my friends later, but I'll give it. I hope you will. Number on the left side, I put down the questions that were raised by the bench, the referral bench. So my point is, in part 1 of the submissions, question 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, and N number is Maharashtra questions number 2 and 3 will be dealt with. This is part 1 of the submission that I propose to make, which is the jurisdiction issue in relation to legislative competence to enact the impugned acts, whether the acts fall in entry 15 list 2 or entry 17 list 3, are they colorable legislations, whether laws are laws protected under 29 cultural rights, and the effect of presidential assent and the challenge to it. Part 2 will be relatable to question 4.5, whether the legislations have been enacted to nullify the judgment in Nagaraj and review the judgment and the doctrine of separation of powers, which relates to question 4.5. And part 3 is the validity of the impugned legislations as tested in rights enumerated in part 3, directive principles, and part 4, duties. So that is relatable to Maharashtra number 1 and question 4.4, that's structure broadly. Now, I don't need to trouble your lordship with the questions. You've read the referral questions, so we will not go into that. Just to point out the nature of the legislation under challenge. I've got it. Just hand over these copies. But does your lordship have these thin volumes are passed out? If my lords are kind enough, but the first page is the Maharashtra Act. I'm not going to trouble your lordship with that for a moment. Please just come to page number 4, just to tell your lordship what is under challenge.
Yeah.
So the in Tamil Nadu, it's the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, Tamil Nadu Amendment Act 2017. It's document 137, that's convenience compilation volume 1. D1 is volume 1, not for your lordship's convenience, I'll take you through that. Then below that, the rules framed are the Tamil Nadu Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Conduct Rules. These are under challenge. Document 16, 148. In Karnataka, middle column, Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, Karnataka, Second Amendment Act 2017. And below that, the notification of 14 November 2017. Similarly, for Maharashtra is the 2017 Act, document 14. And then the draft rules, and then the Maharashtra Prevention of Cruelty to Animal Conduct Rules or bullock cart rate rules. Now, this is the extent of the challenge. For your lordship's convenience, we have also put down the relevant provisions at page 7 onwards. The comparative chart of the relevant provisions.
That's right.
The central statute is in the first column, then Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Maharashtra. Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Maharashtra at page 7. We'll get into that in a minute. Yeah. I'm not. Kindly just consider we are concerned with 3 sets of activities here. Essentially, there's an overlap. Jallikattu is a sport where a bull is released into a crowd of people, and there are men who then try and hang on to the lump into the back, try and control the bull, and the bull tries to escape, and this causes human injury, a lot of injury to the animals, and that was the subject matter of the consideration in Nagaraj. Then we have Kambala, which is annual buffalo races in Udupi and Dakshin Kannada districts of Karnataka in November to March. You have pairs of male water buffaloes, which are tied together using nasal ropes, shafts, etc., yokes, and put in slush water. And depending on the category, jockeys may use ropes, whipsticks to make them run. So that's the second sport. The third sport will be Belgada Shariat or Chakri or Shankarpat, various names in Maharashtra. Again, no person rides the cart. Bullocks are brought blindfolded, made to run, and they are put through a ghat with spectators on both sides. So the idea is to make them run under the effect of fear or probing or prodding. That's the situation in all these sports. There is a lot of material that we have placed, and if my lords are kind enough just to come to page 5 of that chart for a moment, of that note for a moment. There are certain reports depicting the nature of activity. Kindly just have a look at document 62 at page 1118 of volume 3, convenience compilation. Convenience compilation, volume 3, page 1118. No, ma'am, convenience compilation is separate. Earlier.
Morning.
Does your lordship have 1118? Document 61.
Page 1.
1118. 1118 is document number 62. Volume 3.
I have an objection with regard to the consideration of this has been trusted before a lordship by means of this compilation. Without any affidavit, certain comments have been made before photographs which are totally misleading, but there is no affidavit to support it. First time, my lords, and 5 days back we have received with all these 100 photographs.
But they're all part of the petition, my learned friend, may not have been apprised. They were filed along with the petitioner's report. It's not that we have introduced them for the first time. They were filed with the petition.
So they got into 2022.
Sir, this, my lord may recall, the convenience compilation was prepared after it was determined between both sides that what is relevant for the purpose and which is in different files will be compiled together.
Actual things have to come by means of an affidavit, not like this without.
Otherwise, also on the basis of photographs, we can't decide the issue.
Yes.
But I must tell your lordship, there is going to be material in the nature of what is the nature of the sport and whether cruelty is being perpetrated. So I was just pointing out to your lordship, what is the nature of the sport on a visual basis, so you understand as an introductory issue. We'll get into the material and what constitutes cruelty or not in terms of the law in a moment. But I just wanted your lordship to see what is the activity that's carried out to make it clear.
What is the ground of the challenge? See, what
No, Lord, I tell your lordship.
we are dealing with
Yes.
the exercise of legislative power by the, say, the Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, and perhaps they are identical.
Yes.
Section 3 and 11 have been amended.
Yes.
Section 11, B, A to E was already there.
Yes, madam.
That is what was considered by the earlier Nagaraja.
Yes, madam.
It was found that in the case of Tamil Nadu, because they were having the 2009 Act, that was found to be repugnant.
Yes.
So the conviction of the Tamil Nadu state was, it was traceable to entries in the state list. That was repugnant.
Yes.
It was found that the commander entry 7
Yes.
of the concurrent list,
Yes.
namely prevention of cruelty to animals. Therefore, it is a subject which is be dealt with under the central law.
Yes.
So the provisions of the state act was found to be contrary to the central law.
So, Lord, I must tell your lordship.
So now we have a situation because it is in the concurrent list.
Yes.
The state legislature has actually amended the law.
Yes.
Now it may not be open to you to now contend
Yes.
that example level 3F which they have added in the case of Tamil Nadu
Yes.
is contrary to section 11A1.
No, Lord,
The scheme of the act appears to be the acts of cruelty which are prohibited are actually captured in section 11. Please don't do this, don't do that, don't
Yes.
do that. an offence, 10 rupees, 50 rupees, second offence, and all those things. Correct? Primarily.
Now that I must tell you,
No,
Lordship,
they have got rid of legislative, whether it's correct or not. The challenge can be only on grounds available to you when you challenge the law.
yes, but that's the point.
So the first point you have is legislative competence.
Yes, but now the issue is this, and I'll tell your Lordship how that becomes relevant. So the question really will be, and that is something your Lordship will test. Can we, on legislative competence, they have tried to fit it into two buckets. On the one hand, they have chosen,
Article 29.
Article 29 comes later.
Right.
On the one hand, what they say that this is relatable to list 3, and that's the reason they've gone for presidential assent. On the other hand, the old argument of list 2 has come back. So the argument, and that was the question, in fact, that was also framed, if my Lord may just recall, the question was in this relation also. Now the point is not, and that is the question 4.1.
They have legislative power.
Yes.
Even according to your case, the earlier round was, this is a matter which can only engage the attention of the legislature with reference to its powers available, traceable to increase 7 of this 3.
Yes, yes.
The state has power. Parliament, the way to make it in consonance with the central law, get the assent of the president. Admittedly, I think president is given assent.
There's a slight issue, my lord. There's a slight issue, my lord.
1%.
But our case is, no, Lord, I'm really
should
grateful.
not have many voice.
Yes, yes. Lord, our case is that it is a colorable piece of legislation because that's going to be our argument. And I'll tell your Lordship, the point that we seek to make is presidential, it will not fall according to us within list 3. And even if the president's assent is given, they had to show material to say what was put before the president, whether the contours of Nagaraj, whether the issues at hand were placed, and what was the repugnancy issue and why they went to presidential assent. Nothing, please. We'll come to that later. The second issue is, can this at all be relatable to list 2, entry 14 or 15? Now, apart from the fact it's been dealt with Nagaraj, but your 5 judges being, so it's all open to you. This is the argument that is also sought to be raised today by Maharashtra as question number 2. And that is the point they raised, and I'll read that for your Lordship. Whether the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Maharashtra Amendment Act is also referable excuse me, to entry 14 and 15 of list 2 of the 7th schedule to ensure preservation, protection, and improvement of indigenous stock of native breeds of bulls. So that is, yes, now the point not that we will seek to make for your Lordship's consideration is this, that A, it is not relatable to entry 14, it cannot be.
Or 15.
Or 14 or 15 is all not available. List 2 is not available to you. Secondly, you have gone to list 3 and you have gone for president's assent under 254 to get a legislation, which in a law for prevention of cruelty to perpetuate cruelty. And our case will be that this is a colorable piece of legislation, and that is the argument we are going to put forward in extenso when I open. These were just the preliminary facts that I was just placing for your Lordship, because the point that was sought to be made for your Lordship's consideration is this.
Amendment decriminalized the action. That is one of the concerns.
Yes, I'm sorry, Lord.
The amendment decriminalized the act.
Yes,
That is,
and Lord,
essentially that is one of
yes,
the
It
concerns.
says that it is not cruelty, if certain conditions are followed.
Now, Lord, the point is, if something is inherently cruel and the findings in Nagaraj 1 and the review have reached finality in that sense on the findings of fact.
That's a different argument.
Lord, I was
That's your
responding.
point.
No, Lord, I was responding to my Lord's query. I'm sorry. I was just responding to my Lord's query, Lord. So what we are saying is, Lord, that there is those findings have, I would say, remain untrammeled, and therefore we're going to build on that. That was what I was.
Not only one indulgence for you, after my letter February. Lord, we have asked for the records in respect of the presidential assent. That becomes crucial if we have invoked list 2. Lord, your Lordship will call upon them to give the petitioners copies of it.
List 3.
No, they have
There is no challenge in any petition to the presidential assent. You have to challenge the assent then.
No. We are challenging the act.
On these,
Will come up.
No such question is claimed.